Hello again, Monster Cutie fans. Today we are going to concentrate on the foreground, which means we're going to concentrate on our cuties here. So if you've been watching Monster Cutie recently, we're doing a multiple part session on how to paint a composition with a narrative because my portfolio sucks and I need more stuff that does not suck. And I am hoping to make a painting that will not suck. So, last time, if you were here with us last time, we spent a lot of time building up these background tones with the tree. It's got some dimples and creases and weird stuff going on in here. So today we're just going to concentrate on the cuties, and we're still working in predominantly grayscale. Because that gives us a chance to just focus on forms and rendering forms and not getting too wild. So I am painting on the big dude layer, and you'll notice the transparency, preserve transparency is turned on, so I can paint without having to worry about going over the edges and stuff. And we're painting right along. All my cuties have hats that are also monsters. And I'm just putting in a gray tone, a gray wash, as you will, over his body. We'll zoom in just a little bit. And, whoops, there we go. And I'm using just, basic brushes. This chalk brush that I turned on the opacity. And I think I did a short video tutorial on how to create that brush in a previous episode. I noticed that there's a little area here in my transparency that's off, so I'll turn it back on. Hang around. Alright, so let's start with the face, because well, it just seems like a good place to start. Actually, I'm going to use this basic spatter brush because it mimics bristles and I like it. I use it for a lot of stuff. And the big cutie is cheering on the little cutie, and the little cutie has just come back with a sock in his mouth, or its mouth. I don't know if cuties have genders yet. I'm thinking cuties have genders, sure. I'm painting in some chin action. Some cheek action here. And if you guys have any questions about a specific part of these I guess they're not technically tutorials, these walkthroughs, feel free to leave a comment on the blog, which can be found at monstercutie.com. And it will direct you to the blog, and you can find these posts under Snacking Cutie. Part 1 and 2 are already up. This will be part 3. And I'm just kind of going as loose as possible because I have a tendency to get too tight in my work and work up details too soon in my compositions. So I want to try to loosen up, and part of this exercise is to loosen up a lot, and also to do some painting, which I haven't really done in a while. I've neglected my portfolio. Hopefully what happens here, I can when I'm done with what I'm working on, I can submit it to there's a fantasy illustration magazine, or I guess it's not a magazine, a directory. It's not really a directory. It's a book, but it's an annual. It's called Spectrum, and they feature some of the best fantasy art um, in the illustration industry. And the nice thing about it is it's a juried selection, so your work will be seen by um, some of the most talented artists and art directors in contemporary illustration. And I kind of want to get my work in front of people, and I haven't been doing much of that at all for the past couple years, which is totally my fault. I've kind of let life become an excuse, and you can't really do that. If your goal is to make art, or illustration, if your goal is to make illustration something that you want to do for a living, you have to grab it by the balls. No one's gonna discover you. You can't wait for someone to discover you. You have to open doors yourself, and you have to get your work in front of the right people. And I just haven't been doing that for one reason or another. Part of me is, I don't know, I guess part of me is afraid of failure, which is stupid because if you don't play the game, you can't win. And for a while now, I haven't been playing the game. So I want to do more, just more in general, and get more out there and show people what I can do. And I have to admit, I've been discouraged along the way, not because of, I don't know, maybe my personal perception that my work isn't well received, but it's because I've been taking like a small sampling. Like I've submitted to those contest sites, which is always a self-fulfilling prophecy of doom. It unless you're dedicated to those contest sites, and unless you're good at figuring out what it is that the voters really resonate with, you can't expect to win. And I think that's kind of been a blow to my artistic ego, which is dumb. I can't expect to enter and win on a first try without grinding it out in that environment. So it's stupid. It's stupid for me to expect anymore, since I don't actually actively participate in those communities. So I've decided to just not bother with those contest sites anymore. Like there's Threadless, designed by humans. Those are t-shirt contest sites. And then there's Patch Together, which is an interesting site. It's for products, but focused mostly on toys. So if you have a cute toy design, or a toy design that you think would be good to produce, you can submit it, and then the users on that site will vote for it. And if you get enough votes, then the Patch Together people will put it together. So I entered at the behest of some of my friends who had done it before, because they really like the cuties and they really think that they should be toys, and I as well think the cuties should be toys. But I got some decent comments, but not enough votes to get my piece produced, and it made me sad. Which is dumb. I mean, it's understandable to be sad, but I mean, it's kind of stupid to expect success, I guess, right on the outset. And the thing is, like, I can actually sculpt things, as you saw with the sculpting material video that I posted a while ago. So it's not like I don't have the means of creating my own toys. And resin casting is relatively affordable, and it's something that you can do at home. And so, if I really wanted to make toys, I have the means to really make my own toys and to start my own line. And so that's one of the things that I'm working on pursuing, along with trying to build up my illustration portfolio. So, um, I don't know. I'm attempting to kick my own ass. I'm attempting to start taking my own advice and to just get out there and see what I can see. So that's a long way to say that that's why we're doing this. Painting along here. So yeah, I have many insecurities because I have very little confidence in my work. Oops, I did not want to do that. Which I guess may sound weird, but it's true. I mean, I guess you might think that, somebody who puts tutorials online believes that they, have a skill to share and that they have some confidence in their work. I know what I know about Photoshop, and I know how to paint things, and I know all the little tips and tricks and how to color things and how to work in a professional environment. But that doesn't necessarily mean I have confidence in my work itself. Like, I know the techniques inside and out. But techniques will only get you so far. There comes a point when you actually have to shut up and do stuff, and that's the point I'm at right now. So I'm rambling here. So that's what goes through my mind when I'm working on these things. It's like, get your act together. Get your crap together, man. Stop dorking around and wishing. There is no fate but what we make. No one's gonna discover you. So you just gotta get off your ass and freaking do it. So that's my mantra for 2010. 2009 was if you don't ask, you'll never know. That was sort of my theme for last year, for this year, for 2009. Next year will be get off your ass and just do it. Or more elegantly, if you don't play the game, you can't win. And it's true. So right now I'm just kind of loosely defining the joints in this cutie. His arms are kind of fat, so they deform strangely. But you can at least see where he's going, so that's nice. We need some more rounding out of this shape down here. The waddle. Oops, keep hitting the wrong keys. So I am using an old Graphire 2. This was before they came out with the wireless models, which I think are the only kinds of Graphires you can get, or if, you get a cheap Graphire on remainder. But the tablet that I'm working on right now is a 4x5, so it's not terribly big. It doesn't have as many points of pressure sensitivity as even the Intuos of this generation, but you know, I seem to be getting a good amount of detail with it. Um, I know I have friends who work professionally in the comic book industry, and they're using similar tablets, you know, the cheapest ones they can find, because it's convenient. Um, which goes to show you that it's not the tools, but the hands behind them. Now I also have a one of those baby Cintiqs, the 12-inch Cintiq, and that's hooked up to a different computer. Um, the weird thing is I can never get the calibration just right. Like I hooked it up to my Mac, and it was difficult to calibrate the Cintiq monitor. It wasn't quite right. Um, and I'm working on a laptop right now, and the baby Cintiq isn't exactly portable. I mean, it's smaller than a regular Cintiq, but it's still got this big block that you have to that houses the power and some of the default options, like, you know, contrast and color. And so you have to plug in the tablet into this big ugly block, and you have to plug that into an outlet. So it's not portable, and it's not something you can just plug in like I can with this little wussy Graphire. So if portability is a concern, you know, go with a small size, because you can still use it. I mean, it's still getting you still getting a lot of nice details in here. Right now I'm just goofing around. I don't really have a roadmap. I'm just laying in some shapes and ideas. Um, I'm a big proponent of happy accidents. But yeah, so the old Graphires and the old Intuos tablets do not have any of those hotkeys on the tablet itself, the programmable keys, and I really enjoy using them on the Cintiq. It actually helps a lot in terms of just um, the getting used to using it as a drawing tool, because I don't have to stretch my arm out and reach over and trying to find a proper place for the keyboard to hit all the shortcuts. I can program them into the tablet directly. And I think that's a great innovation that Wacom, I can never pronounce it right. It's either Wacom or Wacom. I think I went to an Adobe event, and the guy was calling it Wacom. So I guess I'll call it Wacom. But yeah, the hotkeys were a brilliant invention. Now the Cintiq, the baby Cintiq, has hotkeys on either side of the drawing surface. The new Intuos 4 tablets have the hotkeys all on one side, which is, I think, much better design, because it frees your non-drawing hand to just hug the side of the tablet. You don't even have to use the keyboard for anything except for saving, you know, or you can set that to a hotkey. But it just makes the digital it makes digital painting easier, because you can just worry about painting without also have to worry about the keyboard. And I can't do that because I don't have those hotkeys on this cruddy little Graphire. I like it fine. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be using it if I didn't like it, and I have no desire to upgrade. Part of it is money. I mean, the new Intuos is not cheap. Alright, so I have a decision to make. I want him to actually pet the hat of the little guy, so I want to put him forward. But then the palm goes through the cuties, the little guy's head. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to erase some of the palm, and I'm going to what I did was Apple and click on the little thumbnail in this layer palette, and it's control click on a PC, and I'm turning off preserve transparency, selecting the eraser, and just erasing that part of the palm out of the hand. Now I'm keeping this claw here because I want the claw to pat the little guy's head. So there we go. That's how we solve that. And we're going to put in some shading in the palm. Here's the other part of the palm. Here's the claw. Let's draw this out a little bit. Yeah, so hotkeys, really great invention. I have never used a non-Wacom tablet. I know there are other tablets out there that are more affordable, but I have no experience with those other ones. And it's not because I hate them, and it's not because, you know, I'm a Wacom snob, and it's certainly not because I'm getting any money to endorse their products. It's just that the place where I first started using the tablet as an interface, it was all Wacom tablets, and you know, that's how I got used to them, because that's what we had at work, and the more I used them, the better I got, and so it was just the default. So when it came time to purchase my own, I just went with what I knew. So I am kind of curious to see what other tablet designs are out there, and if any of them have a drawing utility similar to what I was talking about the last time, using bristles instead of this hard pen tip, which would be really cool. But I have not done much research into that. So I endorse Wacom because I use them, not because they're the only tablet out there. There might be a more superior tablet, but I don't know. Now with Photoshop, I can give my blanket endorsement, because I have used other painting programs, and at least for me and the style of work that I do and the ease of use, I just find Photoshop much more flexible. It has a high learning curve, so I mean, and there's still stuff that I'm still learning about Photoshop now, even though I've been using it for years and years and years. But I think Photoshop is by far one of the more flexible, more powerful painting tools, programs out on the market today. And no, they are not a sponsor of Monster Cutie, which would be awesome. I would love to beta test early builds of Photoshop and give my feedback. This doesn't work right. This doesn't work right. All right, we're building some shapes here. We're building some depth here. We're building some cutiness. And hopefully we're not looking anything like Bobby Chew's monsters. Because his stuff is so much better. Here's a sluggy tail. I think what I'm gonna have is maybe some fur on his arms. I don't know. Maybe his chest is a different color. Maybe his belly is a different color. We'll see. Right now I'm just kind of focusing on forms and rendering those out. Seeing what madness I can come up with. Oh, I'm painting in an underlight. No good reason. There should be no underlight. I'd handle that with color. Why am I doing that? To be a jerk. Alright, here are his legs. His toes are in shadow. We'll bring that up a little. But this side should be in shadow too. I don't like the way this is turning out. This should be more round. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Alright, so back to here. Alright, let's expand this bottom section here. So turn off preserve transparency. I'm grabbing a solid brush again, and I'm just gonna paint in this here so it connects back to this end of the tail. Because right now it kind of looks like it hops up and then all of a sudden goes down that way. So it disappears for no good reason. And let's put that in there. All good. Alright, turn preserve transparency back on. Let's zoom out. That flows a lot better into the tail shape. Back to our spatter brush. Alright, so his elbow goes over the knee on his right side, but it doesn't on his left side. So that's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over. So I'm going to grab the lasso, cut this out, cut out this finger thing, and I'm going to move it over till it hits the elbow. Alright, this screws up our silhouette quite a bit, but I can fix that. So turn off preserve transparency. Let's paint in this stuff, sculpt it a little bit. Sculpting. I'm just drawing stuff. Let's fill it in. Let's do this the easy way. Let's fill that in here. Oh, there's another piece missing over there. Alright, that patch looks gross, but at least now the elbow is touching the other knee, which is what we care about. We care about consistency here. Oops. Back to my spatter brush. So back to incessant rambling. There was a time in my art career when I was completely anti-computer. I did everything traditionally, and I mean it wasn't really a digital art really wasn't an option. I mean, we had Mac Paint on Apple. Not even, it was on one of the early Macs, like the original Mac. We had Apple Paint on that, but it was a it was kind of a low-res pixel program, and it couldn't get me the results that I could get with just a plain old pencil and paper. So for the longest time, and the mouse is not a good drawing tool. I mean, so you have to change paradigms when you're using a tablet in terms of the way you draw, because you're not actually drawing on the screen. You're drawing in your lap or on the desktop, and what you're drawing on the tablet appears on the screen. So that's a paradigm that your brain has to get around when you first start using a tablet. But using a mouse, I mean, that doesn't even come close to drawing. I mean, at least a tablet, you have a pen. With a mouse, it's just this big hockey puck that's in your hand, and you kind of move it around with your, move it around on your desk. So Mac Paint just wasn't gonna cut it for me. So I thought, digital art was way too primitive at the time. My dad picked up one of the early Wacom tablets. It was a serial tablet. It was a serial port back when Macs had those. And I tried it, and the problem was that when I drew on the tablet and made a stroke, it took way too long for the computer to catch up with me. So that was a problem. I was like, okay, this digital stuff is bullcrap. And it wasn't until college that I really started considering working digitally. And ironically, I started out using a mouse. I started out using a mouse to do just some basic coloring on black and white art. There was a website, I forgot what it was called, but it was devoted to the art of digital coloring, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I didn't know you could do this in Photoshop. And so I had an early version of Photoshop on my computer, which was a Mac at the time, in college. And I fired it up. I scanned in just a sketch of one of my characters and busted out my mouse and followed the tutorial, and I started, and I liked what I got. Looking back, it looks like crap, of course, but at the time, this blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It opened up a new art world for me. So from there, after college, that's when I got reintroduced to the Wacom tablet. Because through college, I was still messing around with the mouse, which could only get me so far. But after college, my first job was doing Flash animation at a e-learning company. And I had already been drawing in Flash, but with a mouse, so it wasn't the same. And I got a hold of the Wacom tablet, and using it every day, I just got better and better and better. And soon it became second nature to me to draw and to paint in Photoshop and in Flash and in whatever other program came along. It's gotten to the point now where I use the pen as a mouse because I've gotten so used to using it for everything else that I do. So there you go. There was a time when I was an analog snob, but no longer. The other nice thing about working digitally, besides the portability of it, is that I have access to infinite colors without having to worry about mixing paints or cleaning up. So I can just be messy, and I have access to all the colors in the world. I don't have to worry about sniffing turpentine, cleaning brushes, and anything like that. I just go nuts. There is one major drawback to working digitally, and that's when it comes to the selling of artwork. So you can charge an arm and a leg for selling original pieces, whether it be like pen and ink or watercolor or acrylic paints or oil paints or whatever. But with this digital work, where's the original? You know, I mean, I guess the original is this file, but as soon as I print it out, that first printing isn't technically the original piece. I mean, the original piece is stuck here in ones and zeros on the computer. So I don't know. I mean, it's clearly art. I'm not trying to make the argument that digital creations are not art. They are clearly art. I don't care what people say. I mean, I've heard people say, well, it's not really art. The computer does all the work. And that's bullcrap. Your hand does most of the work. The computer just makes it easier to pick colors and save things and undo things. But you are doing the work. There's no magic Photoshop button that says, make this cutie awesome. It's all done by hand. So for the ignorant jerks who say that digital art is not art, they can go suck it. But it does become a problem. Like, what's the original? There is no original. So what I've seen some people do is do limited edition prints of their digital work. So there is some semblance of exclusivity. Part of the reason why you can charge so much for an original anything, like an analog piece, is that it is the original. You can't duplicate it. Well, you can. I mean, you can photograph it and stuff, but that first original piece, that painting, that drawing, it's a tangible thing. What's the tangible thing that I'm creating right now? It's this digital file. And what do you sell? Do you give somebody a disc? Well, this is the original. These are the original bits that I used to create this thing. So, but digital printing has gotten fantastic, much more flexible, much more, much better these days. So you can actually get high quality prints of your work and sell them and stuff. But I mean, that's sometimes I wonder, like, it's definitely art, but how do you sell it? How do you make it work? And how do you prevent yourself from oversaturating your market? Like, sure, everybody, if you have a fan base and people like your stuff, sure, you want to give everybody the chance to acquire some of your work. But, if you keep making print after print after print, do you saturate your own market? Do you kind of devalue your work? Or does that not matter? Or is it like, if there's a fan base for your stuff, will it always have value? Does exclusivity really matter, or is it the work that matters? That's something that I don't know. I don't have an answer for. Because I mean, I know me personally, when I pick up a comic book, the fact that other people can buy it does not decrease the value of it for me. Like, I love Scott Pilgrim, and I love that other people can buy Scott Pilgrim, and I love that I can share it with other people. And I definitely consider comics to be an art form. So, in that sense, does that same kind of feeling of sharing apply to fine art? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know enough about fine art, but it seems to me that exclusivity is the key in that universe. There's only one Van Gogh, there's only one Gauguin, there's only one Picasso. And those worlds deal with exclusivity. And keeping art exclusive in some forms kind of I don't know. I don't know if it locks it off for more people to enjoy it, or if I don't know what I'm saying. I think I'm tired and rambling. But like, does exclusivity automatically create value, or does it make it more valuable than I guess you would call it pop art, reprintable, resellable pop art? Because pop art doesn't give a crap. Pop art wants you to consume. Pop art is about making money, man. So I don't know. These are all questions that are going through my head right now. Wow, look at that. I'd say that's a pretty good step up from what it was looking like before. There's not a whole lot of detail on these toes, but I think the shadow would overpower them. I think I might drop in a little hint of some definition, but not too much. Oops, that's too much. That's not too much. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go back to the background layer and fix this shadow here. Make it read better. Kind of looks like some creepy squid on his head. Alright, so that's the big guy. So let's move on to the little guy. Before we do that, I want to kind of take a look at the reference I had. So let's go back to my documents. Monster Cutie, Snacking Cutie, reference. And here's the photo of me shoving a sock in my mouth. Alright, so it's got that fold thing coming out. Alright, so let's turn off transparency. Serve transparency. Let's fix this shape down here. Same problem with the big guy. The tail section doesn't relate. So this tail section doesn't relate to the bottom of the base of his leggies. Alright, so we got that going. Are there any other spots that I missed? No. There's a little separation where I erased the palm of the big guy, but won't worry about that. So let's just draw in that shape here. Yeah. So that comes down, and here comes the toe. And the rest of it is just Cutie E.T. Oh, there's another little section on the big guy. Let's fix that. Alright, there we go. Turn it back on, turn it back on. Alright, let's turn this back on and save. Never forget saving. Saving is your friend. Let's turn back our spatter brush on. Oh, we see some more sections that need to be cleaned up. Here and there. Okay, they're clean. Back to the spatter brush. I don't know why that shape makes me laugh, but it makes me laugh. This shape right here. It's a stupid thing to laugh at, but it makes me laugh. You can probably tell I am an easy man to please. I mean, look at these silly cuties I draw. They're not all that complex. But they're deadly cute. All right, so let's go back to talking about art and the nature of art. There's, in San Francisco, Pier 39 is a pretty famous pier. It's got a lot of cool shops. It's got sea lions, so they hang out in the bay near Pier 39, and you can hear them on a good day when they're there, and they go, sea lions. They're cute. They kind of like maul over each other on the piers and kind of push each other off it, but they're fun. They like to play towards the crowd. So if you're in San Francisco, definitely check out Pier 39. Anyway, on the pier there are a bunch of shops and restaurants and novelty stores, and there was this gallery that I saw, and so I went in there, and I forgot the artist's name, but you've probably seen his paintings if you've ever been to Vegas or a casino. And it's this guy who does drinking glasses and olives with feet and arms and legs, and really casino themed work, but like animatronic casino items. So like the dice will be moving, and the glasses have arms, the wine glasses have arms and legs, and the olives are kissing each other, and I took a look at the prices on the pieces, and it was like a couple $1,000s per piece. And they're fairly big, but get this, they were giclée, and I saw it was like 1 out of 300. And giclée is a fancy word for digital print. Giclée is a method of printing that just throws up a whole bunch of color on whatever medium you're printing on, and in this case it was canvas. So you can get printers. You can get a printer that does this, or you can send it out to a print shop that will do giclées for you of your work and do it on canvases and stretch them on a big canvas for you. And so this guy was charging like tens of thousands of dollars for these pieces, and it wasn't just one piece. It was like one of 50 or one of 100, and it was each one of those would go for maybe $9,000, $10,000, $11,000. And I know the stuff is selling because I've seen these pieces in Vegas and in Atlantic City, and it's crazy. So clearly exclusivity isn't a big deal to the people who are collecting these. I guess certain collectors just like the art and want a piece of the art and don't give a crap. Or it could be a situation where they don't know that it's non-exclusive and that it's just one in a series. And if the person giving the painting never tells that or doesn't know when they're giving that gift, then they just don't know that they're buying one in a series of paintings. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much exclusivity matters in the art world because I'm just starting to ponder these questions and observe things and connect with people who might know. So, oops. Oh, I have tea. Which is now cold, but it's still good for me, so there. She clay prints are really cool, by the way. um, I got one of my pieces on canvas, and it looks really great. Um, I mean, you can tell it's when you look up, when you get close to it, you can tell it's a digital, that it's ink on canvas. But from far away, it has that sheen to it, so it looks like you actually painted on it. And I have seen paintings where, or giclées where there's the digital print, but then the artist paints on top of it, so that at least they do touch it with actual paint, and then they might shellac it or seal it with a sealer or something. So I don't know. I've seen that kind of thing. It always boggles my mind. I guess I just have to meet the people. I'm more interested in meeting the people who are buying these things, and I want to hear their opinions on exclusivity and why they buy it. Is it because it's a piece that they enjoy, or is it an investment? And if it's an investment, what are they hoping to get out of it? And how can we as artists price ourselves accordingly? So, lots of questions, hardly any answers, because I am too afraid to go get them. The other thing that kind of bugs me is that I've seen work from people online who do amazing stuff, and when it comes time for them to ask for commissions, that they do commissions, they do they sell themselves really short, like $20 for 20 to $50 for like a, a, a rendered illustration. And it bothers me because I see other people get away with charging 20 times more with less talent. Their stuff doesn't hold a candle to some of these kids. And it bothers me because it really seems like there's a popularity component to artwork. If you are well known, it doesn't matter what you put out. It almost doesn't matter what you put out there. People would be willing to buy it because they think you're well known, and if you're well known, well, then you must be good. And that's not always the case. They're well-known artists who get away with doing really mediocre, crappy stuff. They phone it in, and it sells for thousands and thousands of dollars, and that really bothers me. When there are art students struggling to make a buck who can only get $20 a commission, I think it should be the other way around. I think the work should speak for itself. So is it a case of not being known, or is it a case of not getting your work in front of the right people? Or is it a case of the right people just not looking in the right places? I don't know. I mean, that part has always
bothered me of the art world. And it's not even a question of modern art, looking at a Mondrian and not getting why it's so expensive. I mean, I'm not even going to try to touch that subject, but it's more along the lines of like, I mean, even on DeviantArt, I see some people who do really great work, and when they solicit commissions, they're totally underselling themselves. And I don't know if these people know it or if those are the prices that they can afford. Like, if those are the prices that people will commission them for. And then I see other people, commissioning stuff, and their prices are way out of whack. And they get it. I don't know. I don't know how it works. And this is why I am not making any money at my stuff. Because I don't know how to tap into that. Yeah, I don't know if it's a popularity thing, if it's that these people aren't well known enough, or if they don't know enough about how good they are. So I don't know. I would like to get inside the mind of an art buyer, because I feel like if I can understand where they're coming from, I can do something about it. Like, I can target my audiences, and I can try to see what works, and I can go to the venues that they're going to be at, like the people that I want to get my work in front of, who would be willing to pay crap tons of money. All right, let's zoom out, see how this little guy is going. I like him. I like his hat. His hat is pretty cute. Let's deal with the sock here. Sock it to me. Sock it to me, what you say? Sock it to me, what you say? Sock it to me. Alright, I'm gonna check my Renfrew once more. Just cause, oh, that's terrible lighting. Alright, I was gonna check it for some lighting to see what I could draw from it, but that was terrible lighting. It's all backlit and stuff. That is not what I wanted. If you are fortunate enough to have photographic skills, you have a camera, and you have somebody willing to pose for you, when you shoot your references, you should think about the lighting that you're shooting them in. So you should think about the lighting that you're painting in your piece, and you should shoot your references appropriately, not just for pose and not just for getting proportions right, but also for figuring out where to put the light. Lighting is so important to your compositions, to your digital paintings. I feel like lighting is important is so important in most visual mediums, like in film, in CG, 3D CG work. The lighters are usually, the lighting is what makes it real most of the time. I mean, yeah, sure, the textures and the modeling goes a long way to it, but if the lighting is off, your stuff is gonna look fake. If the lighting is good, you can almost get away with subpar textures or subpar modeling. Not always. I mean, spoon still has to look like a spoon. But the lighting is essential, and it's the same thing with painting digitally or painting for real. Lighting is the key. Lighting. You're painting with light, you're not painting with color. So if you do have some skills as a photographer, invest in some good lights. or if you're doing outdoor photography, you have the best light in the the best light that we have here on Earth, the sun. Or, we don't have that light here on Earth. Well, we get that light here on Earth. You know what I'm saying. Kind of feel like this should be a little bit more rounded. I'm gonna cut this off. So erase that out. Put a little bit more of a curvature in here. Oop, wrong key. There we go. Kind of looks like a sock. Soften out that edge a little bit. Ooh, that's still pretty harsh. That line's pretty harsh. That's our stitching line. I'll show you a neat trick. So if you want to create a sort of crease, so let's start over again. What you want to do is just draw a dark line, and then depending on where the light's hitting, right underneath it draw a lighter line. And so the light is kind of coming from the top. So I'm gonna hit the bottom edge of this line here. There we've made a crease, so you can see. And that looks off. So let me see my sock one more time. Oh, it's got that little nubbin at the toe. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. A little nubbin at the toe. Nubbin action. No, that looks terrible. Well, I will worry about the toe later. For now, I'm gonna leave the sock the way it is. And let's zoom out finally. Turn this in. Not bad, not bad, save. I feel like we have a lot of good information in terms of tone here. I'm gonna lighten this up a little bit on this big guy's head. Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of good information in terms of tone. We've got our shapes in here. We need a lot more separation between the foreground and the background, and we can do that with color. But I like the level of detail in the foreground characters versus the background tree elements. A lot of detail here, not so much back here. Still enough, but not too much so that it distracts you from the main composition, which is these guys here. So I like the direction this is going. Ooh, I see something I want to fix right now. Let's go back into the background and paint in some of this stuff. Yeah, what the heck is that? Let's clean this up a little bit. Alright, oops. And zoom out. Alright, and save. And before we go, I want to show you a crazy trick that I figured out. So I'm gonna get rid of all of this when I'm done. So what you can do is hit Control or Apple Shift. I think it's E. Nope, that's not the one. Apple Option Shift E. That's the one. And what that does is it copies everything that's turned on and puts it all in one layer and collects it into one layer. So I can turn these off, and there we go. I found this out a while ago, and it's a pretty cool technique if you want to just screw around with colors. So you want to make sure you're in RGB. So I'm in RGB mode. And what you want to do is go to adjustments, go to gradient map. And already you can see some screwy things going on here. Double click on this and go down to solid and open this dialog box up and hit noise, and then you can get all sorts of weird stuff going on. You can randomize, and this gives you sort of like predator view, and you can just play around until you get something that you like, and then you can, you can also do HSB. This gives you some different color combinations. Some of these are really cool. Like, that's kind of cool. Actually, this is really cool. And so what you can do with this is hit OK, turn on your other layers, and then you can composite this with what you've got going on. You can overlay it. You could do a soft light. You could do color. All sorts of neat different variations. And so it looks like you did a lot of painting with these values, but you didn't. You just turned on a gradient. What is this called? Yeah, gradient map. That's a fun way to just throw on some colors, random colors. Another fun thing you can do is adjustment layer. Let's see, turn on a layer, new adjustment layer. We want photo exposure or photo filter. So you can just generally warm up your composition, giving it a warm tone, different types of warming filters, cooling filters, getting it blue. You can change this. Make sure you keep this preserve luminosity clicked, otherwise it filters everything down. So I like this. You can go red, sepia. The sepia is nice. So there are a lot of things you can do to color your composition without actually going in and painting anything if you want to be really, really lazy. So just gonna throw this out. All right, so save it. And thanks again for tuning in. And next time we will start throwing in some basic colors, and we'll just keep on trucking until we finish. All right, thanks for tuning in. Bye.